Now, Buckingham Palace was rocked last night. A man, obviously with some mental health issues, threw bullet cartridges at the palace. That now required police to carry out what they're calling a controlled explosion on the premises. Full rehearsals, though, are now back underway. Here's the latest vision. Everything, it seems, is returning to normal, but tensions are still so high that another attack, you have to think, could always be on the cards. It was a risk of harm and a lack of police protection that Prince Harry alleged that kept him away from the UK for so long. So what goes on in protecting a royal? Well, I covered the royal tour in 1983 around Australia with Prince Charles and Diana. Ken Wharf is the former Royal Protection Officer to Princess Diana. I suspect he was on that tour that lasted a month around our great country. Ken, great to catch up with you, mate. Do you remember 83?
Yeah, well, listen, I remember 83. Listen, sadly, I wasn't on that trip. I think it's one of the trips that I should have been on. But I didn't join Princess Diana until the mid-80s. But, yeah, no, what you know, I experienced over many, many years was always a changing face of security issues. I mean, the one you talked about a moment ago here behind me at Buckingham Palace was one of probably hundreds that have happened over many, many years. And I don't think there's any real need to worry about that. It tends to spark off a reaction for sure, but the police have really got what I see this security operation really sewn up based on years and years of experience of dealing with, you know, major ceremonial events here in the UK.
And we should point out, Ken, of course, that the King Charles III and Queen Camilla were not even in Buckingham Palace when this lunatic turned up and started throwing bullet shell casings over the fence. I mean, the police were just reacting in a way that they felt that they would needed to. That would be protocol, I presume, that was undertaken this morning.
Yeah, I mean, you know, unfortunately, you know, I remember so many similar events over many years, these incursions we talk about. You know, the Queen in her day was always aware of it. The King would be aware of it as well, as would Queen Camilla. And they accept this, but, you know, they accept that as part of the job. The only way to stop this, of course, is to say, look, you're not coming out today. There's no coronation. We would put another 15, 16 feet on the wall. But luckily, these are sort of very minor incursions that the police live with on a fairly daily basis anyway with policing. But, you know, this event that I just said to you is a major security operation, but with a great deal of experience. Only recently, in the last 6 months, the Queen's funeral, of course. Before that, multiple weddings, the Trooping of the Colour that happens every year in exactly the same place. So, you know, people say to me, you know, is this going to be, are there difficulties? Is there a risk of a demonstration? Well, there's always going to be a risk. But the point is, the policing here, together with the military, is about as best as you're going to get.
As far as I can see behind you there, Ken, over your left shoulder, it looks like things are pretty much back to normal. Is that how you'd describe it?
Yeah, I would say things are back to normal. People are going, you know, about their daily business, as they say. I mean, as of yet, there's no real cordons put in place. But, you know, I think this is what, you know, the police want. It's what the King wants. He wants people to be allowed to go about their normal day-to-day business. And the policing here and the security, the cordons that are already in place, are just enabling that to happen. So, I mean, yesterday, I think, yeah, it was, you know, something to be concerned about. But I would say that this is something they would have expected. Somebody to lob a few cartridges across a 6 foot, 8 foot fence isn't going to be a major problem. But, you know, they were there to deal with it. And a controlled explosion later dealt with the problem. But as you say, we're back to normal.
What was the hairiest moment you encountered with Princess Diana, Ken?
Well, thankfully, I had quite a few hairy moments because, you know, you're open to sort of the public and, you know, strange things happen. I mean, we talk about fixated individuals, people that want to touch the royals, people want to shake their hands. For me, I think the most difficult one was when Diana was launching the first of the nuclear submarines way back in the late 80s, when the demonstrators from Faslane in Scotland came down to demonstrate. And unfortunately, the policing arrangements weren't as good as they should have been. And we got surrounded by the car and, you know, people banging on the roof. But thankfully, because of the close protection I had with me, we got away with it. But, you know, that's what happens. There's no such thing in today's climate as 100% security. You know, there's always going to be a risk factor. But royalty protection, together with our uniformed colleagues, both in this country and abroad, you know, it seems to work. You know, look what happened in Australia in 82, 83. great crowds, but the policing was such. But you know,
Unbelievable.
policing differs wherever you go, but it's great.
Exactly right. Well, I'd like to have you in my corner anytime, Ken. Ken Wharf, thank you very much for joining me.